Here's 7 tips to feel more comfortable and confident on camera from a guy who does this for a living. And make sure to stay until the end because my 6th tip will instantly release any anxiety or fear you have on camera. If you're new to my channel, my name is Peter Scott. I'm the founder of Fearless Coach Academy, where we've mentored over 1,000 coaches to launch and scale their coaching business. So let's dive right in. Tip number 1 is to follow a framework. Now, I'm not suggesting that you write out some long-winded word-for-word script, because if you do that, although you may think you may feel more comfortable, you're gonna appear as robotic. You're gonna be stiff. You're gonna be rigid. You're gonna be nervous. And I totally get it when you're not comfortable, but it's way better to just follow a framework. Think about what's the big idea of your video. What are the talking points that you want to have? And you don't have to write those out in paragraph form. You can write those out in bullet points. And all you need to do is have an idea of what's the story that you want to tell, or the point that you want to make, or the exercise that you want to drive home. That's what's going to make you a lot more comfortable on camera, is when you're prepared. So tip number 1 is to follow a framework. Tip number 2 is to look into the lens, not at yourself on the screen. Now, watch me on video right now, because right now I'm looking right into your eyes on the lens. But if I was looking at myself on the screen, or if I was reading a script, I'd be looking down here. Do you see how much of a disconnect that is? I see so many content creators, coaches, consultants doing this online, and it breaks rapport. It's so critical that you learn how to speak clearly to the camera, not focus on yourself. One of the hacks that I do to get over this is I actually separate the lens of my camera from the actual screen that I'm looking at. Because if my screen has a script on it, then it's obvious when I'm looking at it. If there's a separation and I can't see my screen, all I can see is the actual lens, there's a much deeper connection. If you're using an iPhone, for example, where you can easily see yourself and many people watch themselves on the video, instead I just take a Post-it note and I literally put it right over myself on the iPhone and have only one spot to look, and that is the camera. So that's tip number 2, is to feel more confident and to just be better on camera, is looking into the lens. Tip number 3 is to imagine that you're talking to one person. And imagine that that person is a dear friend of yours, a friend that you've had a long relationship with, that you feel so comfortable with, that knows your deep, dark secrets that you have nothing to hide from. That's who you're creating your video for. Even if complete strangers are watching you, think as if it's your closest friend. Because when it's your closest friend, you know that you're not going to be judged, you're not going to be rejected, you're not going to be perceived as failing or any of that. And so you're going to be more comfortable in your body. When I think about recording these videos, yes, they're for you, but many of you I don't know watching this yet. Some of you I do, but many of you I don't. And that's why I think about my best friend. And that's who I'm recording this video for. And just doing that, I'm not trying to perform. I'm just having a natural conversation. It creates a much deeper level of intimacy and connection with your audience. Tip number 4 is to show them your personality. And what I mean by that is be you. If you are funny and goofy and quirky, then show up that way on camera. If you are quiet, then that's okay. Show up quiet on camera. But don't try to be somebody that you're not. I made this mistake early on in building my coaching business. When I first started, I had zero confidence. I had zero presence on camera. And so what I did was, instead of working on developing my skills, I blindly copied a mentor of mine. Now, my mentor was unbelievable on camera. He was the most confident content creator I'd ever seen. And so I modeled him. I pretended to be like him, but there was a clear problem. He was very different than I was. He was militant in the way he communicated. He was inspiring, but he was militant. He was dropping F-bombs every other word. I don't naturally do that. Yet my first 10, 20, 50 videos, I was showing up trying to be a mini version of this mentor of mine. And people noticed. My friends and my family who knew me were like, Peter, who the heck are you trying to be in this video? And it felt even more uncomfortable. I felt more anxious. I felt more fearful. It wasn't until I started to show up as me. I let go of that attachment to perfection. And I said, I'm going to be me, zits and all, without any sort of fear of what people think. And that, if you just make that distinction, that shift in your mind, you're going to be far better. Now, you can always learn from great speakers and model some of the things that they're doing, but blindly copying them is not what's going to help you. It's a mistake that I made early on. The fifth tip to feeling more comfortable and confident on camera is to capture the energy of your best self. Now think about who you are when you are your best self. When you're with your closest friends, when you're with your family, your loved ones, when you're feeling the most confident version of yourself, that's how I want you to recreate that environment, that scenario when you're about to record a video. For me, I always feel best after working out. So when I record videos like this, I always work out and exercise before because my adrenaline is up, my testosterone is pumping, I feel powerful in my own skin and comfortable. So what are those things? Maybe you need to meditate, maybe you need to journal, maybe you need to work out, whatever those things are for you to show up as your best self. The sixth step to being confident here and tip, this is the most important one. But this is also the most overlooked. So I know I shared with you that this is the one that most people get wrong. This is really powerful what I'm about to say to you. And that is to deploy compassion for your haters. You see, one of our biggest fears is being judged online and rejected. And when you start producing content, whether you're a coach or consultant or course creator, you will get judged. You will. And you'll have many people acknowledging you for the great work that you're doing, but you may have some people that post negative comments. And when I received those early on in my journey, I took it personally. It hurt me and it held me back from showing up fully. And so what I've conditioned myself to do is to detach myself. And what I want you to do is detach yourself from both the praise and the criticism. Because if somebody really takes the time to negatively criticize you for you doing your life's work, imagine the pain that that person must be in. Imagine the heartache that they're experiencing in their life. And when you come from that place and you deploy compassion instead of matching that energy with negativity, you're going to find that if that happens, it completely bounces off of you. You've built a coat of armor to protect you from it. And now you're less fearful. You're less worried about failing, and you're more courageous in communicating your message. So that is the sixth tip. I think the most important one that you implement is deploying compassion for your haters. The seventh and final tip is to practice. I often say that confidence is a result. It is not a requirement. For you to feel confident before you turn on the camera, you're going to wait your whole life until that happens. Instead, you're going to show up and you're going to hit record and you're going to post it and you're going to do the work every single day. My first 100 videos, my first 1,000 videos absolutely were terrible. I was uncomfortable. I was stuttering. I was nervous. And yet I recorded and I shipped it anyway. So that's my invitation for you, is to remind you that this is a process that doesn't happen overnight. And the more that you practice and put in the reps every single day, the more successful, the more comfortable, the more confident you will be on camera. Now, these are my 7 tips for feeling more comfortable and confident. What is one of your tips? What are the things that you have done to feel more comfortable on camera? Go ahead and leave me a comment below. Now, before I wrap up this video, I have a quick favor to ask. If you found this to be valuable, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you never miss a future video. Once you've subscribed, make sure to check out my next video up here that reveals the 4 ways to be more confident as a coach. So click up here, watch that video. My name is Peter Scott, reminding you to be here, act now, and fear less.